chapter number 5, 6, 7, 8 will be covered in next test, which is test number 2. And these 4 chapters are based on the probability. And these 4 chapters are not easy. So I request all of you to attend all the classes, next 4 classes, very important, because you cannot understand. I mean, I can't say all, but some of you cannot understand these 4 chapters by yourself. Though I shared, uh, plus a study group and tutors timing also, so you can attend their Zoom meeting. You and you can take their help. Yeah, every meeting is recorded. So, and you will be recording, and we can email you with question, right? Yeah, you are getting. I'm sharing every time. So just have a look of this. Every time is right here after the each module. You can see the here. This is, for example, the week 1. This is the video. This is the recorded class. Here, this is the recorded class. This is the recorded one. This is the recorded. So at the end of each week, each module, you can see. And once we will finish today class, I will place right here. So you don't need to worry about that. I'm keep doing, and I will be keep doing for next 4 chapters. Okay. Yeah, and let me start. First, before starting chapter 5, let me still, because week 4 deadline is still there, let me solve quickly the homework Word document assignment that I gave to everyone. So if you can see my mini tab right here, I have the mini tab and I have the data right here. Now look into this. The first question was, what is the ratio of survived and dead passenger and which chart will be appropriate? So it's very simple. I go here, if you can see here, I go on chapter, a graph, and I go here, pie chart, and I click, and this is the survived one. Where is survived? And I have all the options right here. Okay. And here you can see this is the uh, pie chart. It gives me all the percentage of and all the numbers of each category. So survived and dead passengers. So here you can see what is the survived here. Lost means dead, which is 60%, and saved is this 28%. So this is 28. Why 60% is the ratio? Construct the histogram of ticket price in pound sterling, and what is the shape of ticket price histogram? So very simple. I go here again in graph. Where's the histogram? Right here. Okay. And ticket fare in pound. I'm not going to do anything, just you can see this is rightly skewed because you can see the tail is on the right side, but you can see also some outliers. This is the outlier, these are the outliers. So right tail with some outlier. What is the shape of age variable? So again, we need to do exactly the same graph, histogram, okay. And then instead of this, I'm right here. You can see this is almost, it is coming close to symmetric. So this is age distribution. And after that, convert the pound to euro and draw histogram based on Sturger's rule. So how many based on Sturger's rule? I think 12 bins are there. So let me see. First, I need to convert pound into euro. And I said, okay, then I go here. Calculator, explained this in very first class. And store in C9. So where is a fair in pound multiplied by 1.15. This is the conversion. And this is the euro price. Now I need to go and graph and histogram and again, and I need to do it for euro. And it will come exactly the same it was in the pound sterling, because just numbers are changed, but the behavior will remain same. Uh, so in the case of Titanic accident had not happened, what would be the average age of passenger as of today? This is very simple. There are two things. Number one, you can simply find average or mean of this age, and you can add the number of years. So 2019 and this is 2020. So 19. Okay, so basically it's the 20, and I think when it happened in 1912. So 107 years, you can add 107 years in the age and you can get the number. So that how I can get, let me show you. So here I go in graph, I go histogram, I use this, okay. And where is the age? So what is the age? 130 30.92 years. I will add 107 in this, so which is coming 137.92. So basically I can get the numbers right from here and I can answer. The most important thing that whatever question I ask, all questions were based on the describing data visually. Means you don't need to do any numerical calculation or anything. Everything you can get the answer from different charts, graphs. Many people have done some some number crunching, this this calculation, that calculation. Nothing was required except just pulling the graph and interpreting or analyzing the graph. So now next question. This is I already oh yeah, convert the pound to euro and draw history based on Sturger's rules. So sorry, I just forgot to do that. So here graph, histogram, and here we have, and I need to do for euro, okay. And since here this is how many bins are there, we don't know, so let me go with here and let me and added bars have binning. How many number of intervals are 12? So instead of that, based on Sturger's rule, there are 12. So I could do this thing and I can get the answer because there are 12 bins possible. And we calculated in very first class how many bins are possible with 2478 numbers. So this is the answer. If you have any question, you can just ask So this already I answered. Which city has the least number of passengers and what is the percentage? So let's see, very simple. Uh, stay graph. Again, I used pie chart, and I use the joint because and pi levels are already, I think. Yeah. Look into that. Which has the least per number of percentage? Queenstown is the least number of percentage, and which is 5%. So before doing the analysis, we must understand the data. Data understanding is very important. You must know where we have the city information. So I asked this question. So you should know the data where we have the city information. So what is the status of passenger and give percentage of each category. So I don't need to do anything. Status is right here. So let me see which graphs is best for this. Let me do this uh, pie chart. Let me see. And I think this is status, and let's see if we can. It is becoming too complicated because number of categories are many. So let me see this with state graph, and where is bar chart? Right here. Okay. Which category is status? Right here. Chart options, we have this. Scales, we have this. Let me put the levels. Use by axis, data view, and multiple graphs we don't want. Options we don't want. Okay, right here. So here you can see, and so basically if you put the numbers and if you do this much, it is more than sufficient. If you wanted to add percentage, so I think let me try with edit graph, and edit vars, chart options, bar options. I think we don't have to put the percentage right here, but you can leave this, this is perfectly fine. So what is the average ticket price in pound sterling in 1912? And what is the average price of ticket in 2020 in euro? A chart option source, let me see. Uh, chart options. Let me see. Graph option, okay. Oh, so why as a very good, thank you. Yeah. So here he explained, here we have the option that you can, yeah, so this is in terms of percentage. Yeah, thank you. So here under this bar option, so by as a percentage. Thank you. So right here, and what else? Average price. So let me go with graph again, histogram, and this is with euro price. So let me go with average price in pound and euro. So I can see here in this mean is $32, 32 pound, and euro is 37.33. So it is right here. You don't need to do anything. What are the passengers percent in each class of the Titanic ship? So we should know that where we have the class option. Let's go. Graph pie chart will use again, and instead of this, where we have class option right here, and look into this, and here we have first class, second, third, fourth, sorry, C and S. So here you can see the numbers and you can see you don't need to do anything. Just this chart will be perfectly fine. And which is the next? What is the percent of infant passenger on Titanic ship? And as I read the definition of infant, def, infant are those who are just less than 2 years. If they turn 2 years today, they are not infant, but anyone who is less than 2 years are infant. So let me do this because many people have, and it could be done easily using histogram. So here we go. Graph, histogram. I'm using this and I'm using age as my variable. Okay, data levels I'm not using. Okay. So this is, let me do this. Edit, graph, edit bars, binning. So now I'm using cut point. Automatically, okay. So now I'm going to do again the same thing, binning. Now I'm manually deciding the bins, number of intervals. Let's say I'm going to do 15. And I'm using cut point. So what are the cut points? So whatever is coming, the first cut point or is 0 to, so let me go with 15 bins, or let me do only 5 bins. Why I will go for this much? And okay, so highest is 74. So first is 1.999, I would say, then 5, then 20, then 60, then 74. So 1, 2, 3. Okay, let me go with this. And I think I can get this. I mean, I'm just doing because my purpose is to get up to 21, up to uh, less than 2 years. So which is 1.999. So how many people are coming here in this range? 21. How many? So when is 1 point up to 1 point? So how many infants are there? Basically, if you see the definition up to 2 years, you can do up to 2 years. But as per my understanding, so I don't, follow the very strict rule about that. And this is 21 passengers were there. And you can simply understand 20 divided by 2478. And you can simply understand the ratio. So this is, so all the questions were based on the describing data visually. And similarly, all the questions are based in next chapter 4 are on describing data numerically. So this is about third. Many of the students, I don't know because they did not join the class, and only 16, including me. So 15 students plus instructor, 16 are there. Let me go with, do you have any question related to exam? Because tonight I will open the exam. Exam means test 1. If you don't have, let me start with chapter 5. We don't, yeah, you don't need, no need to have that lockdown browser. Simply, these are multiple choice questions. Some of them are multiple choice question and some of them are, you need to fill them. So and those are 40 questions, and you have 2 hours time, and 50% of questions you just do the data analysis using Minitab, and you can get the right answer instantly. So and you have all the resources with you, like you have the book, you have the calculator, you have Minitab, you have other resources. So it's like open book, open, you can do with your friends. It's all up to you. Look into that. So what is the probability? What do you understand by word probability? It's not easy. I know some of you really good in all this, but those who are missing, for them, not easy by understanding themselves. Probability, I would say, the chance of occurrence of any event or outcome. What are the chances of any event to be possible or to happen? So that is probability. What is the probability that this would happen this much? So that is the probability. So here, when you do any random experiment, any random experiment is an observational process whose result cannot be known in advance. The set of all possible outcomes in the sample space for the experiment, and sample space can be finite or infinite. Let's see. So what is the probability of attendance after half an hour? As you can see, we have 17 students, 17 together. What is the probability that we will have 30 students in next few minutes out of 60? What is the total probability? What is the sample space? Here I'm going to explain all these things. Look into this very simple example that you have come across when you play some, those board games. Die has 6 phases: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, when you roll 2 dice, when you roll these 2 dice, one is this, one is this. What is the sample space? Means how many permutation and combination can be possible? How many combination can be possible? So, when you roll 2 dice, these are the total 36 combinations are possible. Look into that. It could come 1 or 1. It could come 1 and 6, or 6 and 1. It could be any combination. Means what is the sample space? Means all possible outcome. Sample space is defined as all possible outcome. So look into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now if I ask the question here, what is the possibility of having 7 in this sample space? What is the probability of having 7 when you roll 2 dice? Okay, look into this, where we can get the 7. This is 6 plus 1 is 7. 5 plus 2 is 7. 4 plus 3 is 7. 3 plus 4 is 7. 2 plus 5 is 7. 1 plus 6 is 7. Which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 divided by 36. So in terms of percentage, look into 50, which is 16 point. Oh, I'm just terrible with mouse. 16 point, how much? 67 in terms of percentage. If I do this, what is the possibility of having 7 is 16.67, if you understand it. So this is a probability, and this is the example of classical probability. We'll go further into this. So sample space is all possible outcome. What is the event? Event is, like I gave the example of 7 is an event. What is the possibility of having event or 7 combination when you roll 2 dice? So an event is subset of outcome in the sample space. A simple event, elementary event is a single outcome. So event 1, a discrete sample space S consists of all simple event E1, E2, E3, all. And here you can look, Amazon website for book and music have 7 categories that shopper might choose: book, DVD, VHS, magazine, newspaper, music, textbook, etc. Here you can describe in 3 events. You can classify these category into 3 events. Look into this. One is books and textbook, which is one event. One is music, VHS, DVDs. This is electronic medium. So here electronic medium is music, DVD, which is event 1. Here you can this is event B is print periodicals, which means which comes often. So this is event 2, and this is third category. So which is Venn diagram can explain the complete picture. It can be very easy when you go into next some principles of probability. Any probability can be in between 0 and 1. Means probability can also be 0, can also be 1. 0 means no chance of any event to occur or to happen. 1 means 100% chance to occur and happen. And anything in between is possible. Anything in between means 0 to 1, like 50%, 60%, or anything. So this is very first principle. Whenever you do any example or anything, probability always between 0 to 1. Never say probability is 2 or 3, or so this is very first rule being a learner or student of this course. Look into that. Another example here, that sum of all the probabilities or all the events are 1. What is? So event 1, probability of event 1, probability of event 2, probability event 3, all probability. So for example, sum of all the probabilities, let's say event 1, event 2, event 3, event n, all is 1. Sum is always 100%. Is that because we usually translate the decimal to percent? Exactly. So scene you are asking, always whenever so this is a percentage and we always translate into decimal here. What is the probability of having credit card in my Eastern Washington University student? Let's say 30%. So 30% is usually in probability we write 0.30. Sorry for my mouse, please. This is point and this is a decimal. Sorry. I think I am terrible in this. So basically this is point and this is always 30%, always write like this. Okay. Look into the shopper, credit card 32%, debit card 15%, cash 35%, check, any given store. So if customers pay using credit card 32%, debit card 15, cash this total is 100%. How you can write in terms of probability? 0.32, 1 5, and this is this. Total is 1. So there are three types of probability. One is classical probability, one is empirical probability, one is subjective probability. So please try to understand this, very important. We have just seen an example of rolling two dice. What is this? This is a classical probability, because we know the, known a priori by the nature of the experiment. We know all the prior information when we do experiment. When we roll two dice, we know these are the possible outcome, and this is the. So similar example here is, there is a 50%, when you flip the coin, or when you toss a coin, there is a 50% chance of getting head and 50% chance of getting tail. So this is known as classical probability, like rolling a dice and taking a card from deck and tossing a coin. So these are all example of classical probability. Look into the empirical probability. Estimate from observed outcome frequency. How do we do? Like just previous example, when you look into this, how do they know that, the credit card payment is 32%, debit card payment is, let's say, any store has like, in a day, like 500 customer, 500 registers, the bills were generated by registers, and there is a mode of payments are recorded in the register. So at the end of the day, they look into that. Out of 500, they say 160 people have paid by credit card. Yeah, 15% means 75 people paid by, out of 500, transactions, by debit card. 35 paid, 35 means 175 paid mm, by, cash, and rest paid by checks, which is 18%. 18% means 90 people paid by. How? So this is basically empirical, because you have frequency recorded, you have the data on the for that, and then you get to know based on this. Okay, this is the result. So this is called empirical empirical probability. Empirical probability. Then we come to know about the subjective probability. So, like doctor, so what are the chances of this COVID-19 situation to, to be out, or what is the probability that, that COVID situation will be solved by December 2020? Who can say this about this? The one gentleman who is taking care of the US, Dr. Fuchi, he knows, because he is the expert, and he can, give his opinion based on the subject, based on informed opinion or judgment. That kind of, so he can say there is 75% chance that, this pandemic will be, will be in control, and there will be no cases by December 2020. So such kind of situations, such kind of cases are known as subjective probability. So we have three. Are these clear? Because certainly next exam you will have one or two questions related to subjective, classical, or empirical probability. So you will have question in the in next test based on this slide. So empirical approach, like I gave about the this is another important rules, law of large numbers. In this case, I gave the example of credit, debit, uh, uh, cards of any store. So number of trails increases, any empirical probability approaches its theoretical limit, means 50%. So 50-50 chance, when you toss a coin or when you flip a coin, let's say 200 times, 200 times you are tossing a coin, what are the chances of having tail or head? 50-50% chance that 50% times you will have head, 50% time you will have tail. So this is a law of large number. When you approach to large number, when you experiment any uh, event, then it will come approaches its a theoretical limit, which is 50%. 50 flip a coin 50 times, we would expect the proportion of heads to be near 50%. So look into this, look into this. So when you flip 10 times, here this is the graph. Look into when you do it 200 times, this is coming it 50, this line, red line is 50%. Look into this is coming close to 50%. So if you do it more and more, you will get it close to theoretical limit. Classical approach, I already explained to you. This subjective approach, I just explained to you. Now understand the very first principle of one, very first rule of probability. So this called Venn diagram. This entire this is called Venn diagram. So this is the entire sample space. If event, this is event A, this is event A, so probability of event A, because of this, rest of the event, this is rest of the space is A bar, or it is called complement. This is called A complement, which is exactly, so if this is a probability of event A in the circle, rest of the area is probability of A complement. The total of both is 100%, means total of both is 1. So this rest of the area plus the circle area, probability of A plus probability of A complement equal to 1. Okay, so if I want to get the probability of A complement only, then what will happen? I will transfer this part to here, which is done. A1 minus, so this side this is, so this is the very first rule, which is complement of n any event. This is union of two events. This is another important thing. So look into the formula and then I will explain. Oh, just next slide, I think. Yeah. Here is the, look into this. This is event A, this is event B, and this is common between this. Let's say this is some people, probability of paying by credit card, paying by debit card. So this event is paying by credit card, this is paying by debit card. What is this? So these customers paying credit card, debit. This is the common thing where customer are paying using both credit and debit card. Means here this is a common, means probability of A and probability of B both. So this is A and B both common area. So this is called intersection area. So yeah, this, so union of two events, it is denoted by U, or you can say this kind of thing, this kind of symbol, or you can say, or it is also denoted by OR. And this is known as union of two events. This is called AND, A and B, and this is denoted by this symbol, and it is known as AND, A and B. So this common area is known as A and B. The formula is, for union, probability of A U B, or probability A or B. What is the formula here? Look into this. Why? So A or B. This is A or B, and this is a probability, which is probability of A plus probability of B minus Y probability of A and B. Do you understand why we are doing this? Why? Because we would like to get this area. Sorry. This is A and this is B. So if you look this, the common area, this is the common area. One time this is coming from B, one time this is coming from A. So these are the two areas. We need to subtract one common area. Therefore, probability of probability of A or B equal to probability A plus probability B minus probability A and B. This you must remember. Whenever we do this, this will be used in solving numericals. And look into the example. So look into probability of queen in any deck. As you know, there are 52 cards in any deck. So what is the probability of having queen? Which is 4 out of 52, 4 queens in deck. What are the probability of red? Probability of red is half, 50% cards are red, 50% are black. 26 by 52, which is 50%. What is the probability of queen, that queen and red? Two cards which are red and queen. So this is, look into the probability of queen or red. Queen or red equal to probability of queen plus probability of red minus probability of queen and red. So what is the probability of queen? Is 4 by 52. What is the probability of red? This much. What is the probability of queen and red? This much. So what is the total probability of queen or red? Equal to 53.85 or 53.85%. If they are not mutually exclusive event, if they are not overlapping each other, or they don't have any common thing, then this part becomes 0. Then the formula will remain probability of A plus probability of B. The third part minus probability of A and B is 0, or it is eliminated when these are independent, mutually exclusive or disjoint events. Collective exhaustive events. So for example, this here you can see. So there can be more than two mutually exclusive, collectively exhaustive events. For example, a Walmart customer can pay by credit card, debit card, cash, or check. And these are exclusively mutually, disjoint event, but they are collectively exhaustive because they together form 100%. For example, here warranty, no warranty. Now, very important, very important principle, which is conditional probability. And conditional probability is denoted by, so conditional probability is denoted by this vertical line. It is like this. Probability of A condition B equal to probability of A and B divided by probability of B, where probability of B is always greater than 0. What do you understand by conditional probability? Conditional probability means, very simply, that you understand, like if you have 2.7, let's say if you have 2.7 CGPA or GPA, then only you can get into the business program. So one event, what is the probability of event if one situation is fulfilled? So, or what is the, like, if you are trying to get into Harvard University, and first condition is you have to have CGPA, or you should have SAT, like particular number or something, or you want to graduate from Eastern Washington University, and how many credits you have completed, what is the probability of graduating. So like you said, you completed 74 credit or 124 credit, whatever numbers. So first condition, this is a condition, you completed 124 credits, and what is the probability of graduating? Probability of graduating condition, you completed 124 credits, or I don't know exactly how many credits are required in order to complete, in order to get the graduation. So this is the, so probability of A means what is the probability of graduation condition, you completed 124 credits, so which is 100 A and B divided by probability of B, where probability B is this much. So this is very important, conditional situation. So how do we know probability of A and B? We know how do we get probability of A and B, and what is the probability of B? Probability of B based on this circle. So you can easily calculate this conditional probability. Look into the example of conditional probability. Uh, this is example of high school dropouts. Of the population aged between 16 to 21 and not in college, there are 13.5% students are unemployed. High school dropouts are 29% or 29.05%. Unemployed and high school dropouts are 5.32%. So here, what is the conditional probability that member of this population is unemployed given that person is high school dropout? So this is the total, three numbers are given. We would like to check what is the conditional probability that member of this population is unemployed given that person is high school dropout. So what is the probability of unemployed This is what is asking. Condition or given that person is high school dropout, high school dropout. So this is what we are interested to get. What would be the formula? Formula will be probability of unemployed and high school dropout divided by probability of dropout, probability of high school dropout. Look into this. So on next slide, you can see. So here exactly. So this is probability of unemployed and dropout, high school dropout, equal to probability of unemployed and high school dropout divided by probability of high school dropout. Look into all three probability. This is a probability of unemployed. This is a probability of dropout. This is a probability of unemployed and dropout. So this is this point this much, and this is 29. So total is 18.31%. And so, which is, and now look and compare probability of unemployed and dropout equal to this much, which is probability of unemployment is higher. So this unemployed and dropout is higher than probability of unemployed, which is 13%. Therefore, being a high school dropout is related to being unemployed. So you don't need to go into this, but you can calculate right here based on this. If you come across any situation where you don't understand, what I'm trying to explain, please let me know. Because, I'm keep explaining, and I'm understanding that you are understanding. But you can always ask me in this chat box. You are, feel free to ask as much as. So this is not important. We will not count this. I'm skipping some of the parts. And this part is known as independent event. So here, when when we can say event A is independent of event B, there are two simple rules. What are those two simple rules? Even now 14 students are left, 13 students remain. Okay, so D, I don't understand why, if we know the rates of the unemployment, why do we even want to know how the probability of event is? Okay, let me go back. If you know the unemployment, which is here, right here, 13%, 13.5%, you know the probability of high school dropout. If you, let's say, you are doing a survey in Spokane County, and you are targeting a student. You are you are only targeting people with in this age bracket, 16 to 21. Okay, you find, like you did some survey of, let's say, 2000 people who are in this age, which means 16 to, and you find that in this 2000 survey, you find how many people are unemployed. 13.5% are unemployed. Okay, then again you are doing, and you get to know number that how many people are high school dropout in that same survey. 29% or 29 point. And you get also this you know, how many people are those unemployed and they have high school dropout? And you get to know 5.32%, which you can easily get from your, you know, any experiment. Now we would like to know, uh, you know, these are unemployed high school dropout, means they are dropout but they don't have any high school, you know, education, or they did not finish high school. And now the question is here, unemployed, we would like to know what is the unemployed given that the person is high school dropout. Given that dropout, we would like to know the condition, he is unemployed given that he is high school dropout. So means here conditional probability explains you first condition here. Let me open the whiteboard. So what happens in conditional probability, you must find, you know, like I said, you complete 124 credits. So first condition is met, then only you check your graduation. But I see, so 100, so you see the probability of graduation, condition 124 credits completed, and you know, major students graduate in this condition. However, few students are still interested to pursue some other minor, like, you know, business analytics minor or some other minors. Therefore, even let's say less than 1% are the students who completed this, you know, and they are not graduate or graduate. So you can find this. Similarly, you are high school dropout. What is the question? This is you. So here you completed high school, but still you are not employed. So this is what we are going to check. Here in this data, it is given unemployed and high school dropout. But we would like to check they are high school completed, they are high school graduate, still unemployed, means they completed high school, but they are not getting a job. We can understand you don't have high school, okay, you don't have the job. But we would like to check you have high school, but you are not getting a job. Means look into the similar example. We can understand you don't have, you know, like, you know, in university, you are graduate, you are not high, you know, you are not graduate and you are not serving in a high tech industry, but you know, you are MIS major, but you are still unemployed. So that kind of probability we are looking into this. D, are you getting, or is it making sense? D, Morris, is it making sense?
Yeah, sorry. Can I talk to you because it's taken too long to write to
Yeah,
type?
go. Yeah, please go ahead.
Okay, so it's really about moving forward then.
Yes.
Okay, because it just didn't make sense. Why do you, if you know that they're unemployed, why do you care what the chances that they're unemployed?
Yeah.
Because they're
So
unemployed. But you're
yeah,
talking about moving forward.
exactly, because you know, conditional probability means one event happened, then you are going to check second event. So one event is like here in this case, let's say your high school is done, means we are checking with only those who have done high school. So first event is completed, you are checking why they are unemployed, you know, unemployed condition, high school completed, or you know, completed high school, whatever, high school. So here, just a minute. So here, so this is so basically unemployed, condition, dropout. Here, oh sorry, I explained in reverse way. This is exactly you can understand here. So probability that member of population is unemployed given that person is high school dropout. So unemployed and dropout, both the conditions are here. So we are just checking this one based on particular condition. So first condition, conditional probability says probability of event A given that event B has occurred, means event B is already completed and then we are checking event 1 or event A. So like I gave the example of graduation, similarly we are, this is the situation, and here unemployment, condition, dropout, means we are just checking the unemployed and he is dropout, which is higher than the simple, which is unemployed. So those people, those who are high school dropout, they have higher probability of unemployment than simply unemployed.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I got it. Yeah.
so basically this data is simply unemployment data, and we are working with only 2 points here. So this is the total unemployment data, which is 13%, but those who are unemployed and high school dropout, they are more.
That makes sense. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Where we are now. Yeah, so this is important slide which says how we can say that events are independent. Look into this. These are the 2 principles. First one is probability of unemployment or condition, this dropout, are not independent. That is, they are, so here probability of A and B equal to probability of A and B. Probability of A and B equal to probability of A and probability of B, then event A is independent of event B. So basically, if A and B together equal to probability of A multiplied by probability B, then you can say this is independent. Here, event A is independent if event B is conditional probability is the same as the marginal probability. So these are the 2 laws which you can remember. This is number 1 and this is number 2. So probability of A and B equal to probability of A and probability of B. This is, and this is probability of A and B is the same as probability of A. So I can say here probability of A and B equal to probability of A. If this law fulfills, then you can say they are independent. And the second law is right here. If these are the 2 situations or any of the situation, you can check any one and you can say, so probability of A and B equal to A, this. So if any of the situation fulfills, you can say they are independent. So now I'm not going into this. It has, very important practical application of multiplication law for independent events. And look into this. And I normally explain with server. So, computer server or Amazon server, normally I explain this with that. Just a minute. Let's have a look of Amazon case. Amazon is working on internet. Amazon business is not possible without internet. And let's say, so this is, let's say, internet server, because you need server in order to do your business. So let's say Amazon is 1, 2, 3. And their probability, they are 98% available. You know, there could be 2% chance of 90% reliability of this server is there, 90% is there, 90%, 98% of this server is here. If you are, means they are 98% reliable. Still, there are 2% chances that they can collapse or they can have some technical problem or they will not work. So 3 servers. What is the probability? What is the probability that at same time all will not work? Means totally Amazon business will be out of service. What is the probability? Let's say I'm just going to calculate. So these 3 can be collapsed at same time. So there, 0.2%, which is, I can write here, 0.2% is written here, 0.02 into 0.02 into 0.02. How much am I getting? Let me start my calculator. See, calculate. So 0.02 into 0.02 into 0.02, which is 0.05 and then 8. So I'm getting 0.1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. This is my answer. This much probability is there that all will not be available. So this is out of 100%. So what is minus 100? Oh, minus 1, sorry. So 5, 9, and 2. So this is 0.9999992. Means this is the availability of the servers. Only this much time is they will be out of the service. What is this percent? Means 99.9992% is available if they have 3 server. If suppose I want to decrease the failure, or I want to secure the risk, what I will do, I will have more servers. I will have like 10 servers in there is only possibility of getting out of the service is only less than say 10 minutes in entire year. So if this is the availability, let's say you multiply with 365 days, and you can understand how much. So let me multiply with 365 days. What am I getting? 364.997 days, which is 364.997 days. Means you will have Amazon services almost a year, except few minutes in the year. But if you want to decrease this, you will have multiple, more than 3 or multiple server. Similarly here, you can say applying the rules of independence. So you can have independent server, which is like this. Both servers are down is point this much. So 1 minus this, which is 99.9%. So like in your life, you want to be independent and you want to run your things. Like you have only one car and that collapse or somehow due to something, some technical problem, you get stuck and you will not fulfill your commitments. You have 2 vehicles, 3 vehicles. If you have 3 vehicles, certainly one will be working. You have less chances. It will be really impossible that same time all 3 vehicles will not work. So this is the application. Now, very important table is known as contingency table. Based on this contingency table, we do lot of calculations. So what is the contingency table? Contingency table is nothing but a cross tabulation. And let me explain using a whiteboard. Let's look into the class that I'm teaching. Okay. So here we have male students, female student. Let's say this is junior. No, this is freshman, sophomore, then junior and senior. So in my class, I have, let's say, 60 students, and some of them are freshmen, some of them are sophomore, some of them are junior, and some of them are seniors. And then male and female, we have students, boys and girls. So let's say in first year or freshman, we have 10 males and 5 females. And this year we have like 8 and 8. Okay. Then junior, we have how many? So we have 7 and 8. And then here we have 7 and 7. So how many? This is 15. This is 16. This is 15. And this is 14. Here we have how many? So 10 plus 8, 18 plus 25, 30. 18 plus 25, 32. How many we have here? 5 plus 8, 16 plus 7, 16 plus 7. So which is 28. And now when you do it, it is coming 60. Are you with me? So this is called cross tabulation, or it is called contingency table. That means you make a cross table. Now, based on this, we can do many calculations. Look into this. So 15, 16, 15, 14. So yeah. So this, now what is the probability of being male? Probability of M. What is the probability of M? What is the probability of M? 32 divided by, we are checking in terms of male, divided by 60. 32 divided by 60. This is a probability of, what is the probability of female? 28 divided by 60. Very good. Now, similarly, if I ask what is the probability of freshman? freshman, exactly, exactly. Now I ask, what is the probability of freshman? Freshman condition, he should be male. What is the probability of freshman condition male? So probability of freshman and male. Are you getting me? This is the formula divided by probability of male. Is it making sense? Now tell me, what is the probability of this? Conditional probability, you know. So probability of freshman and male. So what is the end? End means which is a common. As you remember the previous slide, what is the common area is known as end. So this is end. This is a common area. So freshman and male, this is a common area. So which is 10 divided by 60 is the probability divided by, no, we are talking in terms of entire number. So this is 60 is the, now divided by probability of male. What is the probability of male? 32 by 60. This 60 and 60 is gone because it doesn't have. What is the probability of a freshman condition? He is male is, please bear with my handwriting, and you know, which is 10 divided by 32. Is it making sense? Similarly, if I ask, what is the probability of female? I'm just asking another question. So you just solve right here because it is very simple and you can have, I can't erase everything. Oh, sorry, I am erasing something. So tell me the answer of let me, where is the probability of female condition she is a senior? Tell me the answer of this. Female condition she is a senior. So 7 divided by 28, let me check. What is the female and senior? What is, where is female and senior? This is 8. Exactly 8 divided by senior. What is the probability of senior? So senior is this, because it comes to probability of senior. What is the probability of senior? 7 plus 7, 14. Seen, I ask, you know, different, you know, I ask female, which is right here. So female and senior. Female and senior is sorry. Sorry, female and senior is right here. Sorry, this is a female and senior, which is, let me correct myself, which is 7, 7, and then only senior, which is 14. Oh, senior is 7, correct. Senior is 7. Oh, that is, I just misunderstood by sophomore. So this senior is 7, correct. So let me do it again. So I can say equal to 7. Oh, 7 divided by 14, which is 50%. So I hope you understand what am I trying to explain here. Similarly, so this is, this is an example here. This is 3 salary gain and tuition. So based on similar thing, they have what is the marginal probabilities? All these probabilities are marginal probabilities. If I ask what is the probability of S1, what is the probability of S2, what is the probability of S3, they are all known as marginal probability. What is the probability of T1, what is the probability of T2, what is the probability of T3? They are marginal probabilities. Like I will ask what is the probability of male, what is the probability of male, what is the probability of freshman, what is the probability of sophomore, what is the probability of junior, what is the probability of senior. Those are all marginal probabilities. Okay, what is the joint probability? Joint probability, like you see, which is a common area. Like I ask what is the probability of male and sophomore, that is the probability. What is the female and senior, that is a probability, that is a common place, which is called joint probability, which is a common in both. So that is, what is the conditional probability? Like we just checked, what is the probability of female and senior, which is like 7 divided by 14. That is a conditional probability from contingency table. So as I explained through that example, exactly the same is right here. Is it making sense? Tree diagram. Based on this, the tree diagram is made. Look into this. This is also used as a decision. This is called decision tree. So this is the last point. Last important thing. Then we have 2-3 important concept. So look into the tree diagram. Here, how you can break in the tree, how you can break this contingency table in the tree form. So here you have bond and stock. Bond is 21, stock is 23, this is 44. And under bond you have low, medium, high. Under stock you have low, medium, high. So what you can do here, first you make, what is the 21%? 21 divided by 44. So let me go here. So here 21 divided by this, and then you divided these each value by. So look into this. So they have divided just. So 21 and 23. 11, what is the probability of this? Bond, low, bond and low, which is here. Low and bond, which is 11 divided by 21. 7 divided by 21, 3 divided by 21. Similarly, 3 divided by 23, 9 divided by. So these are the conditional, low conditions stock, medium condition stock, high condition stock. Similarly, low condition bond, medium condition bond, high condition bond. And here, so bond type is this and stock type is here. It is exactly based on how we get here 21 divided by 44 and 23 divided by 44. So we get this 55%, this we get here. Now, this is low and bond 52%, medium and bond this much, high and bond this much, this and this much similarly, and sum in each case is going to be 100% right here. Now, calculate the joint probability. Joint probability is very easy because you know the formula. Probability of A condition B equal to P A and B, A and B. Oh, let me. And how can I? A and B divided by PV. So you want to calculate this part. What you will do, you know this, and then you can transfer this part here. Similarly, it is done. So you are going to do, which is this multiplied with this. So 0.5238 multiplied with 0.4773, you are getting this. Similarly, 0.33 multiplied with this, you are getting this much. Similarly, this value multiplied with this, you are getting this. You can see here, you could clearly, this is end, bond and low expenses, bond and medium expenses, bond and high stock and low expenses, stock and medium expenses. Now you get all them 100%. So each level you check whether they are coming 100% or not. Now you can make a decision. Which is most important for you in all these? This is the highest 25%, and this is the highest. So bond and low expenses has 25% value, and the stock at high expenses have 20. They are all equal. Which is the least important here? Least important, this is 15, this is the 6%, and this is 6%. So bond and high expenses, stock and low expenses are the least important. Then this is the second most important, this is the third most important, and they are equally. So based on this decision tree, you can understand what is the important portfolio. Bond and low expenses are most important, stock and high expenses are equally important. So you can make your decision where you are having more weightage. Is it making sense? If you don't understand, please let me know, because this is the decision tree, and based on that you will have some exam questions in test number 2. So, and after that I have 2-3 important slides to. This is called Bayes theorem. Bayes theorem is based on conditional probability, and it says that the probability changes, probability revised, and then reflect new probabilities. Here it says the prior or marginal probability of event B is revised after event has been considered to yield a posterior or conditional probability. So this is most applicable, most important, but we are not going to keep in our exam or homework or anything. But you can just look into that probability of B condition A. They are just replacing the number of factors here, then it is again going to be as big as you can have as many as factors. That is called Bayes theorem. So we are not considering Bayes theorem in our uh, courses, our exam or any assignment. This week we also don't have the Word document assignment because these calculations are not done using Minitab. So we are not having any Word document assignment. Now we have counting rules. So look into the counting rules. I'm just going to share my TI calculator here. Can you see my Smart View calculator? Okay. I think you can see. So number one is, do you know how many you have a car? In car, what is the, how do we write car number? I think in Washington state, 3 letters like B, A, B, and then 4 numbers are there with 4 numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. Is it there? Is this the Washington state card number is given in this way? How many card numbers, how many cars can be registered using this 3 alphabets and 4 numbers? These are 26 alphabets, 26 multiplied with 26 multiplied by 26, and then 4 numbers multiplied by 10 to the power 4. I can simply write here 10 plus 10 multiplied by 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 4 times. And then similarly, these many cars can be registered in Washington using this format. Is it making sense? So similarly, if you buy computers or many items, how they put the SKU levels and unique number on that. So like say box 1 and box 2 can be A to Z, and then 4 numbers with 4. How many items can be registered? 6,760,000 items can be uniquely labeled using this level, 2 alphabets and 4 numbers. After that, we have factorial. What is the factorial? Factorial is like if I ask factorial 3, that means 3 into 2 into 1. We don't keep 0. If we multiply 0, it will be 0. How many we are coming? 6. How many? What about factorial 5? Exactly, up to the final number in the list of exactly. Multiply every number in the sequence up till the final number in the list in the order. Yes, you are correct. So integers 1 to n, no 0. So factorial n equal to n, n minus 1, n minus 2, and up to 1. So this is, or you can say, like you said, you can multiply from 1 to up to that number. That is a factorial. Now we come to the permutation. N permutation R means An arrangement means if I take 3 items, how many ways I can arrange them in particular order of randomly sampled items from group of n items. So if 3 items are there, how many ways I can arrange them? So basically n permutation R. If I use 3 items, or if I pick out of 5 items, how I can arrange 3 items in unique way. So basically this is permutation. And then we have combination. So if normally you play basketball or football or any game, let's say you have selected 15 member squad or 15 members team. Finally, how many ways final 11 will be can be formulated? That can be, so because normally in final game 11 players are played, out of 15 how many ways you can have final team, which is combination. So we can do all these using our calculator. Look into this. I hope you can see my calculator. And here we have maths. Hmm. Hmm. Numbers, round, and complex number, real, probability. Here, no, yeah, here you can see. Can you see in probability part? Here NPR, sorry. So you can, here we have, for example, here, I would like to see the factorial. Now I would like to do factorial of 5. How much? Oh, I would like to see 5, and then where's the math? Probability, and then I can get 120. So basically, I have factorial here, probability. Oh, sorry, I did wrong. Maths. Oh, maths. I'm just making. And now I'm going to do combination of. Oh, I think I did. Let me clear this, and then I need to do 15, and then probability. Clear. 15 and maths, and then probability, and then so this is if I select 11 members out of 15 players, how many 1365 combination I can have for 11. So similarly we can do maths, 15. Oh, so here we can do permutation, combination. So this is about the chapter number 5. You can use calculator for doing this. Do you have any question related to this week? Any question you have, please let me know. because this is what I wanted to cover. So what is important here? Contingency table, conditional probability, decision tree, and the rules, probability rules. And yeah, whether the two events are dependent or independent. Two events are dependent or independent based on the here this slide. So this is very important for this week, and if you have any question, please let me know. I hope this is not becoming a monotonous lecture which professor is just speaking and you are not getting anything. If you have any question, comments, please let me know. Otherwise, I would like to say have a good night. Bye bye. Bye. So I'm just it will be uploaded just, and the test will be, you can see, around 10 o'clock. It's fine. The online only part has an monotony. Thank you. Thank you. Bye bye.